His family. The rabbin literature is almost completely silent about Jesus' lineage and his family background. The rabbis do not seem to know, or else do not care to mention, what the New Testament tells us, that he was the son of a certain Mary and her husband, or later betrothed Joseph, a carpenter of the city of Nazareth, and that he was born in Bethlehem, the city of David, and hence of Davidic origin. It is only in the Babylonian Talmud, and there in two almost identical passages, that we do get some strange information that may be regarded as a faint and distorted echo of the gospel stories about Jesus' family background and his parents. Since neither source mention, however, the name Jesus, but instead resorts to the enigmatic names Ben Strada and Ben Pantera, respectively, the relationship to Jesus is hotly disputed. I will analyze the Bavli text in detail and demonstrate that it indeed refers to the Jesus of the New Testament and is not just a remote and corrupt echo to the New Testament story. Rather, it presents with few words and in the typically discursive style of the Bavli, a highly ambiguous and devastating counter-narrative to the infant story of the New Testament. The version of our story in Sub 104b is embedded in exposition of the Mishnah law, which regards the writing of two or more letters as work and is forbidden on the Sabbath and Sub. Therefore, the Mishnah discusses all kinds of materials that might be used for writing and of objects upon which one might write, and states that the prohibition of writing includes also the use of one's own body as a writing object. From this, the logical question arises: but what about tattoos? Are they to be regarded as writing and hence forbidden on Sabbath? According to Rabbi Eliezer, the answer is yes, they are forbidden on Sabbath, whereas Rabbi Yehoshua allows it. In the Tosefta parallel, it is the sages. The Tosefta and both the Jerusalem and the Babylonian Talmud elaborate further upon this Mishnah. According to the Tosefta, Rabbi Eliezer responds to the sages, but did not Ben Satra learn only in a such way? In other words, did he not use the tattoos on his body as an aid to facilitate his learning? Hence, weren't they clearly letters therefore forbidden to be written on Sabbath? This is bad enough, but the two Talmudim come up with an even worse explanation of why tattooing one's body on Sabbath is forbidden when they have Eliezer asks, but did not Ben Strada bring forward witchcraft from Egypt by means of sketches tattoos Biserita upon his flesh? In all three factions, the sages dismiss Rabbi Eliezer objection with the counter-argument that Ben Satra was a fool, and that they would not let one false behavior influence the implementation of Sabbath laws. It is within this context that the Talmud Sub 104b proceeds with a clarification of the enigmatic false family background. The text is only preserved in the ancient manuscripts and printed editions of the Bavli. I quoted according to M.S. Munich 95, written 1342 in Paris, with some variations in the footnotes. Was he the son of Stada, and not on the contrary the son of Pandera? Said Rav Hisda, the husband Baal was Stada, and the cohabited lover Boel was Pandera. But was not the husband Baal Papos ben Yehuda, and rather his mother Stada? His mother was Miriam, the woman who let her woman's hair grow long, Megadla She'ar Nesaya. This is as they say about her in Pumbedita. This one turned away from, was unfaithful to her husband, Satad the Mibala. This is a typical discourse of the Bavli, which tries to clarify the contradiction between two traditions. According to one received tradition, the full magician is called son of Stada, and according to another one, he is called son of Pandera. What then in his correct name? In other words, the Talmud is concerned about the problem that the same person is called by two different names and not about the question of who this person is. The answer to this latter question is obviously presupposed. Everybody seems to know it. Two different answers are provided. First, Rav Hisda, a Babylonian Amora of the third generation and important teacher at the Academy of Surah D. 309 CE, suggests that the person is in question had, as it were, two fathers because his mother, her husband, and the lover, and that he was called son of Stada, who referring to the husband and son of Pandera when referring to the lover. Against this, as an anonymous author comes up with a different solution. Now he argues his mother's husband was not some Stada, but rather Papos bin Yehuda, a Palestinian scholar, reported as a sage and without the title rabbi of the first half of the 2nd century CE, and in fact it was his mother who was called Stada. If this is so, the last step of the mini discourse in the Bavli continues. We need to explain this strange name Stada for his mother. The answer: his mother's true name was Miriam, and Stada is an epithet which derives from the Hebrew Aramaic root sata sete, to deviate from the right path, to go astray, to be unfaithful. In other words, his mother Miriam was also called Stada because she was a sota, a woman suspected or rather convicted of adultery. This anonymous explain is located in Pumbedita, Surah's River Academy in Babylonia. Hence, it becomes clear that both explanations begin with the assumption that our hero's mother has both a husband and lover, and that they only disagree about the name of the husband. Stada versus Papos bin Yehuda. The name Pandera of the lover is made explicit only by the Rav Hisda, but seems to be accepted in Pumbedita explanation as well, because it presupposes that the mother's adultery and does not suggest another name for the lover. The Papos bin Yehuda is identical as the husband originates from another story in the Bavli, transmitted in the name of Rabbi Meir, that Papos bin Yehuda, when he set out, used to lock his wife in their house, obviously because he had reason to doubt her fidelity. Begit 98. This behavior on the part of Papos bin Yehuda is quite drastically compared to that of a man who, if applied false into his cup, put the cup aside and does not drink from it anymore, meaning that Papos bin Yehuda not only locks away his wife so that he cannot go astray, but that he also refrains from intercourse with her because he has become doubtful. The dubious reputation of her hero's mother is further emphasized by the statement that she grew her hair to a great length. Whatever the original meaning of the old phrase, the context in Sabbath 104b, Sanhedrin 67a, a clear suggests that Miriam's long and apparent and pasted nail was indicative of her indecent behavior. Another passage in the Talmud, 100b, describes the epitome of a bad woman as follows: she grows long hair like Lilith, Megadeth, Saar, Kelidith. She sits when making water like a best, and she serves as a bolster for her husband. Similarly, the story in Gittin continues with a madman who sees his wife to guard with her unfastened and spin clothes in the street, her armpits uncovered and bathed with other people. Such a man, it concludes, should immediately divorce his wife instead of continuing to live with her and having intercourse with her. A woman who appears bareheaded and with long hair in public, this seems to be presupposed here, is prone to all kinds of licentious behavior and deserves to be divorced. If the Bavli takes it for granted that our hero's mother was an adulteress, then the logical conclusion follows that he was a mamzer, a bastard, or illegitimate child in order to be put in this manner. In this mamzer category, it did not matter whether his biological father was indeed his mother's lover and not her legal husband. The very fact that she had a lover made his legal status dubious, as the uncertainty that he is sometimes called Ben Stada and sometimes Ben Pandera. Nevertheless, the Talmud seems to be convinced that his true father was Pandera, his mother's lover, and that he was a bastard in the full sense of the word. Searching for evidence outside the rabbinic corpus, scholars have long pointed to a remarkable parallel in the pagan philosopher Celsus' polemical treatise Alethe's Logos, written in the second half of the 2nd century CE and preserved only in quotations in the Church Father Origen's reply contra Celsum, written circa 331-333 CE. Then Celsus presents a Jew as having a conversation with Jesus himself and accusing him of having fabricated the story of his birth from a virgin. In reality, the Jews argues he, Jesus, came from a Jewish village and from a poor country woman who earned his living by spinning. He, the Jew, says that she was driven out by her husband, who was a carpenter by trade, and she was convicted of adultery. Then he says that after she had been driven out by her husband, and while she was wondering about this successful way, she secretly gave birth to Jesus. And he says that because Jesus, was poor, he hired himself out as a workman in Egypt, and there tried his hand at certain magical powers on which the Egyptians pride themselves. He returned full of conceit because of these powers, and on account of them gave him the title of God. In another quotation, Celsus repeats these allegations put into the mouth of a Jew and even communicates the name of Jesus' Father. Let us return, however, to the words put into the mouth of Jew. When the mother of Jesus is described as having been turned out by the carpenter who was betrothed to her, as he had been convicted of adultery and had a child by a certain soldier named Pandera. This story has much in common with the sort discussed in Talmud. The hero is the son of adulteresses. He returned from Egypt with magical powers, and more important, the name of his mother's love his father was Pantera. The only difference between the versions in the Talmud and in Celsus is the fact that Celsus makes it explicit that the child born from the poor Jewish adulteress and the soldier Pantera was the very Jesus whom the Christians regard as the founder of their faith, whereas the Talmud keeps silent about the proper name of the child. But this does not pose a real problem because the Talmud, as we have seen, is not concerned about the identity of the child but about the strange phenomenon of the two different names used by his father. Moreover, several rabbinic sources do mention Jesus the son of Pandera, and it can be safely assumed, therefore, that the Talmud presupposes the knowledge of this identity. The punchline of this attribution, of course, is the fact that Jesus, to his father Pandera, became not only a bastard, but even the son of non-Jew. These consequences make it highly probable that both the Talmud and Celsus draw on common sources, most likely originally Jewish sources that relate that Jesus of Nazareth was a bastard, because his mother was an adulteress, Miriam, and his father was her lover, Pantera. Some scholars, most radically among them Johann Meyer, want to conclude from the conflict that the name Pandera is relatively common in Latin inscriptions, and that the spelling of its equivalent in the Hebrew sources varies considerably, that there must have been some different Jesus with the patronymic Pantera, Pantiri, or similar forms, who cannot and should not be tracked back to the one and only Jesus of Nazareth. Although such a possibility cannot be excluded, it does not seem very likely. The different versions of the name Pantera are still similar enough to be attributed to the same person, and such an attribution certainly does not require that all of the various forms of the name be philologically traced back to the one or form Pantera. Moreover, and more important, the name is not common at all in Hebrew and Aramaic, and this fact alone makes the connection with Celsus Pantera obvious. Celsus Jew in the late 2nd century CE, and the Babylonian Talmud is a presumably early 4th century tradition. It refers to the same counter-narrative of Jesus' family background, which evidently is an infection of and polemic against the New Testament narrative of Jesus' birth. Several motives are characteristic. Jesus returns from Egypt as a magician. In the New Testament, Jesus' parents Mary and Joseph flee to Egypt with the newborn infant because King Herod threatens to kill the child. Matthew chapter 2, verse 13 ff. Herod had heard about Jesus from the magicians who came from the east to pay tribute to Jesus as the newborn king of the Jews. Matthew chapter 2, verse 2. Egypt was regarded in antiquity as the classical land of magic, and Jesus is portrayed in the New Testament as well as in rabbinic sources as someone with supernatural powers, healing, commanding the demons, etc. That Jesus is labeled a magician in a derogatory sense is therefore an infection of the New Testament, which connects him positively with magicians, with Egypt, and with healing powers. Celsus portrays Jesus' parents as poor. His father was a carpenter, and his mother a poor country woman who earned his living by spinning. The New Testament does not say anything about Mary's family background, but it mentions explicitly that Joseph, a betrothed, was a carpenter. Matthew chapter 13, verse 55. The Talmud remains silent about his parents' means, unless one wants to see in the strange epithet Megadla's Messiah given to his mother an allusion not to her long hair, but to her profession as a manual worker. The Aramaic word Megadla can mean plating but also weaving. The most pungent counter-argument against the evangelist narrative is, of course, the assertion of Jesus' illegitimate birth for an adulterous mother and some insignificant lover. It parrots the claim of Jesus' notable Davidic lineage, to which the New Testament attaches such great value. Matthew starts with his genealogy, Matthew chapter 1, which leads back directly to David and calls him, as well as his father Joseph, son of David, Matthew chapter 1, verse 1 and 20. Luke chapter 1, verse 27, chapter 2, verse 4. He is born in Bethlehem, the city of David, Matthew chapter 2, verse 5f. Luke chapter 2, verse 4, and hence is the Davidic Messiah, Matthew chapter 2, verse 4, Luke chapter 2, verse 11. No, the Jewish counter-narrative arguments this all nonsense. He is anything but of noble origins. His father was by no means a descendant of David, but the other was unknown Pandera, just a Roman soldier, according to Celsus. In other words, a non-Jew and a member of the hated Roman Empire that so visibly and horribly oppressed the Jews. Much worse, in turning Jesus into a bastard, The counter-narrative takes up the contradictions within the New Testament story about Jesus' origins and ridicules the claim that he was born from a virgin parthenogenesis. The New Testament itself is remarkably vague about this claim. Matthew, having established Jesus' genealogy from Abraham down to Joseph, concludes with Jacob, whose father Joseph, the husband of Mary, who gave birth to Jesus, is called Messiah, Matthew chapter 1, verse 16. This is clear enough. Jesus is the son of the couple Joseph Mary, and the Davidic lineage comes from his father Joseph, not from his mother. Only under this premise that Joseph was his real father does the emphasis put on his genealogy make sense. Yet, after this dramatic beginning, Matthew suddenly reveals that Mary was not married to Joseph, but just betrothed, and that she expected a child before they were legally married. Chapter 1, verse 18. This discovery taught Joseph, who was a just man, had decided to dismiss her 1 chapter 1 verse 19. But in a dream it was revealed to him that that her child was from the Holy Spirit. Chapter 1 verse 20. When he woke up from his dream, Joseph took Mary as his legal wife and accepted her son. Chapter 1 verse 24f. The Jewish counter-narrative points to the inconsistencies within Matthew's birth story. It does not spend time on the legal intricacies of betrothal and marriage, but maintains that Joseph and Mary were indeed married, not just betrothed. The bizarre idea of having the Holy Spirit intervene to make him the father of Mary's child is nothing but a cover-up of the but a cover-up the truth it maintains, namely that Mary, Joseph's legal wife, a secret lover, and that the child was just a bastard like any other bastard. Joseph's suspicion, whether he was Mary's husband or a betrothed, was absolutely warranted. Mary had indeed been unfaithful to him. He should have dismissed her immediately, as was customary according to Jewish law. His power contact narrative shakes the foundations of the Christian message. It is not just a malicious distortion of the birth story, and is such moralizing categories are completely out of place here. Rather, it posits that the whole idea of Jesus' Davidic descent, his claim to be the Messiah, and ultimately his claim to be the Son of God, are based on fraud. His mother, his alleged father, is so far as he helped covering up the truth. His real father, and not least Jesus himself, the would-be magician, are all impostors that deceive the Jewish people and deserve to be unmasked, exposed to ridicule, and the naturalist. Most striking, this context New Testament is a nutshell has been preserved in rabbinic sources only in the Babylonian Talmud, and there almost in passing. And conclude this chapter with yet another story from the Babylonian Talmud again, only the Bavli, that can be read as a parody of Jesus' birth from a virgin. It is part of a long disputation between the notorious Roman emperor and Rabbi Joshua bin Hananiah, in the course of which Rabbi Yehoshua travels to Athens to meet the Greek sages. Rabbi Yehoshua and the Athenians engage in a long discussion that aims at finding out who is cleverer, the sages or the rabbi. Asked to tell them some fiction stories, Milady Bedier comes up with the following tale.
There was this mule which gave birth, and round its neck was hanging a document upon which was written, "There's a claim against my father's house of 100,000 Jews." The Athenian sages asked him, "Can the mule give birth?" He, Rabbi, also answered them, "'Tis one of these fiction stories." Again, the Athenian sages asked, "When salt becomes unsavory, wherewith is it salted?" He replied, "With the afterbirth of a mule." There aren't afterbirth of a mule, and can salt become unsavory? These brief stories center around the well-known fact that mules, the offspring of a cross between a male donkey and a female horse, almost always are sterile. Both play with a double element of surprise. In the first case, the allegation that the mule not only can give birth to the cub, but that a particular cub was even born with a debt document bound around its neck. And in the second case, that salt not only can become unsavory, but that it can regain its flavor with the afterbirth of a mule. This, of course, has nothing to do with Jesus, but why the strange idea of a sterile mule giving birth, covered with the not less strange idea of unsavory salt, there is presumably salt that loses its taste. One could argue that what we have here are remnants of some kind of an early scientific discourse about the sterility of mules, and this probably is his answer. But still, the connection of the miraculous offspring of sterile bull with the salt regaining its taste by the afterbirth of a mule is suspicious. With regard to the unsavory, mostly insipid, salt one immediately thinks of Jesus' famous dictum, the Sermon on the Mount: "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled down and trampled underfoot." Jesus addresses here his disciples as the salt of the earth, most precisely as the new salt of the earth, because there is some other salt that has lost its saltiness and has its taste. This other salt with no taste anymore can easily be understood as the people of the Old Covenant, which is no longer good for anything, thrown out and trampled underfoot. But if we take this saying of Jesus as the fall against which our Bavli story was construed, the brief term turns into pungent parody of the New Testament claim of Jesus' followers as the new salt of the earth. These Christians, it accused, maintain that the salt of the Old Covenant has become insipid and hence are useless, and that its taste has restored by the people of the New Covenant through the afterbirth of a mule. But we all know that there is no such thing as the afterbirth of a mule, because the mule does not give birth, as much as we know that salt does not lose its taste. On this background, the miraculous offspring of the mule in the first story and afterbirth in the second one carries an even more significant meaning. It can well be understood as a parody of Jesus' miraculous birth from a virgin. An offspring from a virgin is as likely as an offspring from a mule. The Christians' claim of Jesus' birth from virgin and without a father belongs to the category of fiction stories, faithfully judged by fun. Moreover, this is the punchline. The second story: Jesus' followers, who claim to be the new salt of the earth, are nothing but the afterbirth of the imagined offspring of the mule, a fiction of a fiction. Read this way, our two little Bavli stories become indeed much more than an amusing exchange between the rabbis and the Greek sages. Rather, they offer another biting ridicule of one of the cornerstones of Christian theology.